Hi, this is Maria from BMusReviewsBooks.com, here to talk about a few of the books that I have recently read and finished, and also to highlight a few of the books that I am currently reading. So I'm going to get right into it. I am sorry, first of all, I wanted to apologize because I do not have visuals. I'm having a very tech-challenged month, and most of the books, actually, out of the four that I have chosen to discuss today, I only have one in hard copy, and I don't have that hard copy on me. So I will not be showing you any of the book covers, though I would normally do that and want to do that. My apologies again for that, because it kind of makes things a little less exciting. However, I am going to give you the title and the author. If you have any questions, you can put those in the comments below. I'm going to get right into this, dive right in, and I'm going to move at a pretty decent pace. So the first book up is The Whole 30 by Dallas and Melissa Hartwig. It is a comprehensive must-read. BRB rating, Bemis Reviews Books rating on this would be read it/own it. If you are new to the Whole 30 program, and if you don't know what the Whole 30 is, you can Google that and find out all you need to know. If you are embarking on your first, I would say most definitely get your hands on the book. At least read it once all the way through. I think you're better off owning a book like this because you're going to want to reference back. It is very comprehensive. There is everything that you're going to need to know to embark on this program and to run it successfully throughout the entire 30 days. It also is a great pick-me-up along the way when you're starting to drag. There's certain parts of the program that are hard to get through. And if you've done the Whole 30 before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody is different, but there's a kind of a timeline in terms of moods and the dips and valleys and peaks that most people go through who have done the program. Thousands of people have done this program successfully. Many of those people go on to do multiple Whole 30s. I'm one of them. Did not read the book before I embarked on my first couple, and I will tell you from experience that that is not a great idea. You're going to want to know everything there is to know, and there is a lot to know. This book gives you everything. It answers all of your questions, even the questions that you haven't thought of yet. It offers recipes. It tells you how to set up your kitchen. It gives you shopping lists. It covers you from every angle. Great book. Get your hands on a copy. Outrage, second book. This is actually Outrage by T.R. Ragan, or Reagan, R-A-G-A-N, is the second book in the Faith McMahon trilogy. So T.R. Ragan has written this trilogy about a vigilante mom who, after having her house broken into, watched her husband be brutally slain in front of her, and she had her kids taken at the same time. She is on a mission to bring her children back safely. So she is actually working with the police. She is also teamed up with a couple of absolutely lovable bounty hunters, and she has the full support of her family, who is rallying with her and behind her on the safe return of her children. I love the whole message of victims rising up and taking back their power, and also giving the bad guys a true run for their money. It's a great tale because there's so much action from both sides. The other thing I love about this book is the attention it gives to a very real topic, child trafficking, a very serious and upsetting topic, something that goes on even in the United States, I think in a lot of cases right under our noses. And I love the fact that T.R. Ragan has done a lot of research in this area and has chosen to write a trilogy about this. So the first book in the series is called Furious. That was out last spring. This book, Outrage, is out tomorrow, September 20th. So BRB rating, read it. Get your hands on a copy and read it. If you can pick up Furious first, I definitely recommend doing so. Read your copy. These books, you will blow through them in no time at all, especially if you love to read, if you love suspense, and if you read generally pretty quickly. I read these books within 24 hours. They're that good. They're amazing. Okay, on to the next one, Aches, Pains, and Love by Kira Lynn. Kira Lynn is I want to say therapist. I don't know if she's a psychotherapist, but she's a therapist in, I believe, the Vancouver area. And she wrote this book called Aches, Pains, and Love. It is love and dating advice for the chronically ill set. I love, again, this topic because this is an important topic that does not get enough attention. So I really love that someone has written a book on it. And yes, there are others. I think there needs to be a whole lot more. There are some great takeaways from this book, some good reminders no matter what type of intimate relationship you find yourself in, whether you have been married for decades or you are just navigating the dating field anew. There's some really good information. What I did like about the book was it takes on a relatively preachy tone. I don't think that was done intentionally. I think that's just the way the author speaks. Sometimes your message in writing looks a whole lot different than your message, when you're actually communicating through voice. So I don't think that was intentional. So I'm going to give her, a break on that one, even though it did come across as preachy. There are exercises at the end of each chapter. The author really encourages you to do them. Maybe a little bit of admonishment for not doing them. I find the idea of a workbook within a book to be not very effective. I just think that the idea that people are going to stop and, interrupt the flow of reading to do an exercise is kind of a lose-lose. I don't think it works all that well. I'm not saying that there aren't people who would do that. I'm not one of them. I know a lot of people who wouldn't stop to bother doing the exercises, and somehow that part of it just sort of gets lost. I think in a therapeutic setting, it's a completely different ballgame, and maybe that's what she was drawing from. She wanted to give the reader that sort of, therapy-like experience. I just don't think it works here. There's also the issue of redundancy. She repeats herself a lot. I don't think in this case it really works. I think that she could have said everything she needed to say and really make her point in about half the book. I actually would have liked to see this book as an article as opposed to a book or even a series of articles. I think the topic is really important. I think that the topic cannot be overstated, especially today, because autoimmune disease, chronic pain, and illness run across all age demographics. We're seeing younger and younger people with these conditions, and I think this book is a very timely one in today's day and age. So what I'm going to say is, if chronic pain and illness touch your life, as it does for so many of us, BRB rating, read it. If this has nothing to do with you or anybody you know, you may want to skip it. Joyful by Tokes Adibiai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, so I'm going to spell it. First name is Tokes, or Tukes, Toks. Last name, Adibiai. That's how I'm pronouncing it. I have no idea if that's right or not. Adebiyyi. This is a take, or a one man's take, on how to live a more joyful existence. And he basically explains or illuminates his point through cultural memes, common ones like living within your financial means for true happiness, being charitable even when you think you can't afford it, and the importance of that. The problem for me was there is a whole lot of dogma going on. He's very dogmatic. He's very firm in his assertions, and I think that's a good thing. But he's also extremely in your face about how you should also live the way he's living, or telling you to live. And I have a huge problem with that. Huge. So what I will say about this book is, if I were going to give it a rating, I would say skip it. And the reason I would say skip it is because there's just not enough takeaway for this to really be worth your time. However, if you do choose to read it, please know that it is mercifully short. So that's good news. And that was really the best part of it for me. I actually did read it from cover to cover because I'm reviewing it, but I did not love this book. He is also very heavy into religion, Christianity. I myself, not a huge fan of organized religion. However, I would not begrudge anybody their beliefs, no matter what they were. I just have a problem with people imposing their beliefs on everyone else. And that is certainly the takeaway that I got, or the impression I got from this book. There are a few language barriers that came up, nothing too bad. The author is Nigerian born, so I think that would be expected. There are actually more cultural misunderstandings. There were a few things that I really couldn't decipher what he was, even though the language was fine and grammar was fine, syntax was fine, I just really didn't understand his meaning. And that could have been due to something cultural. So I had a little bit of trouble understanding everything that he meant along the way, but not too bad. He does cross some lines, in my opinion. For instance, he has very firm beliefs on how we should all eat, for instance. And his idea of us all adopting a vegan raw diet, I think is totally wrong. And, again, he can do whatever he wants, and that's fine. I don't see the reason that he needed to put this all in a book. These are his personal beliefs. So BRB rating on this, honestly, skip it. It's not worth the time, in my opinion. Okay, so that wraps up everything that I have recently finished. All of these reviews can be found on bemisreviewsbooks.com. And what I'm reading now, and there's one more. I've just finished this one. I haven't actually written the review for it yet, so I didn't include it in the other list. But I just finished a book by Anna Snow-Extra, and the book is called Only Daughter. This is a case of assumed identity by a young woman who is trying to avoid being arrested for shoplifting. She takes on the identity of a woman who went missing 11 years prior. And basically, this book is about a cold case that is now reopened, and this woman trying to integrate into this other woman's life. And the pinnacle, or the twist, is the very strange family that she is now living with and trying to understand. So suffice it to say that she does learn what happened to the young Rebecca, who was taken from her home 11 years earlier when she was 16 years old. Both women are about the same age. And that's kind of where the fun begins. So I'm going to leave that where it is. That one actually will be up on the site soon. I am in the process of writing the review. Another book that I'm currently reading is called The Middle Class Comeback by Mooner Moon. I've actually just started reading Mooner Moon's bio, and I don't actually have a lot of information to give you right now because and this was just something I was kind of interested in who wrote this book, and it was an interesting take on how the middle class is poised at this time in history to rise back up to the top. Now, ever since the recession hit in 2007, we've been hearing a lot about how the middle class is fading. It's being squeezed out. There is no more middle class. It's only going to be the, top echelon and then the very poor. This book actually gives a lot more. It gives the other side a different take on it, and it actually is a lot more hopeful. Women leading the way, technology leading the way, changes in job structure, in transportation. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that's discussed, and actually it's a really interesting take. It's a more hopeful take, and that's why I'm really enjoying the book and why I wanted to continue to read it. So, The Middle Class Comeback, again, by Mooner Moon, that's Munir, and that one holds promise. So I look forward to reviewing that one and discussing it in further detail on a later episode of BRB. Next one, Paradigm Falls by Brian Galloway. This one goes actually pretty deep. This one is extremely philosophical, very scientific. It's an inquiry into critical thinking and what is true reality, what true reality really means. It's really about paradigms, that internal, that deepest belief system that seems in so many of us, in most of us, so completely unshakable. And really, it's about where paradigms and truth collide. And it's kind of like an implosion. I think you need to read this book with a very open mind. You need to be very open-minded and very interested in learning, unlearning, and relearning. in order to get into this book. I don't think this book is for everybody. I can think of a lot of people that would be completely turned off or even scared about what's in this book. I find it fascinating. I think it's a very interesting book. It's a slower read. Takes a little bit more time to absorb it. I would say that it's more of a even meditative type read. So if you're looking for something for maybe a little bit more of the long haul, you might find this very interesting. If you love philosophy, if you love science, I think that you might find this book to be worth your time. So the Paradigm Falls, not the Paradigm Falls by Brian Galloway. And last up on the list, The Next, Next, by Stephanie Gangi or Gangi, Gangi. I love this book. This book is fantastic. This is another kind of women's suspense genre, but it's extremely creative. This is revenge a la Afterlife style. This is about a woman who when the book opens, she is literally on her deathbed. And she is obsessed with a relationship that has recently ended that she got no closure for. And it was an intimate relationship. She was in love with this young man, who was actually quite a bit younger than she is. And he left her suddenly. And he left her in a lurch. And she was very sick at the time. And she never knew why. She never learned why. So as she's on her deathbed, her two daughters are rotating care. And she's, literally at the point of hospice at this point. She's not going to come back. And she literally spends her last days literally cyberstalking this relationship, this man. So after she leaves the earth, that's when the story begins. And it's quite interesting. So I'm kind of right in the middle of the book, maybe about 60% of the way through. And there's a lot of action. She did not go quietly into the night. She did not disappear. She is very much, I want to say, alive, even though not alive in the typical sense. And she's kind of wreaking her havoc on, she's going to get her revenge. So, Hell Hath No Fury, this is really one of those books. I mean, if you're, into that Hell Hath No Fury, like A Woman Scorned, if you like that kind of story, you're definitely going to want to pick up The Next by Stephanie Gangi, because she's got a really interesting, very unique, very creative take on this story. Okay, that's it. That's all I've got for now. I look forward to coming back and discussing these books and more with you next time on Bemis Reviews Books. Take good care. Goodbye.